Hi folks, it's Richard from Inclusive Driving. Why have I got a chessboard out with a car and some chess pieces? Well, reversing manoeuvres are a little bit like playing chess. You have to plan a couple of moves ahead. What do I mean by that? Let me just take this car out of the way for the moment. So, I don't know if you know the rules of chess. I'm not a very good player. I know the rules. That doesn't make me good at playing. But each of these pieces is allowed to move in a certain direction, or directions, plural. So for example, we have the king. The king can only move one space at a time, but it can move in any direction. So it can move forwards, backwards, sideways, or it can move diagonally, but only one space at a time. The bishop, well, that can only move diagonally, but it can move any number of spaces. So it can move that way or that way, but it can move 2 or 3 spaces in that direction, or 2 in that one, and then on another move it can move, excuse me, 2 in the other direction. Then we've got the rook, or the castle, or if you're from a posh part of the country, the castle. Well, the rook can move only in straight lines. It can move forwards and backwards, or it can move left and right, any number of squares. We've got a pawn. Generally, the pawn can only move forwards. It can't move backwards. There are some moves where it can move diagonally and occasionally sideways, but on the whole, the pawn can only move in the forwards, backwards kind of direction. The queen, it's not the best chess set, this. It cost me £8 from Argos. The queen and the bishop look a little bit too identical for my liking, but the queen can move pretty much any direction, forwards, backwards, diagonally, any number of moves. So forwards, backwards, excuse me, I'm recovering from a sore throat. It can move sideways, it can move diagonally. And then we've got the horsey shaped one, the knight. Knight's very unusual. It can move in a 2 and a 1 configuration. So it can move 2 spaces in one direction, and then it has to move 1 space in the other direction at 90 degrees. So we can go perhaps 2 spaces forwards and 1 sideways, and that's 1 turn. Or then we could maybe move 2 sideways and 1 backwards. So I'm going to bring the car back on now, because the car is a little bit like a chess piece. It can only move in certain directions. The car can move forwards and backwards in a straight line. What it can't do is move sideways. That's a physical impossibility. The other thing it can do, which is very similar to what the knight does, is you can go around a corner. So you can move forwards some distance and sideways at the same time, just as the knight went forwards a distance and sideways. So this now gets us thinking about how we maneuver the car at low speed. Let's say I've made an attempt to reverse into a parking space, and it's not perfect. I need to correct it by moving the car sideways. Well, I can't do that. All I can do is go forwards and backwards and around a corner, a bit like the knight. So again, just take the car away. We've got to come up with a plan then, haven't we, of how to get the car to move from here to here. So I'm just going to put a pawn there, just kind of mark our end point. If we're here, we can't go directly sideways. That the car doesn't do that, nor does the knight. How can we then get from here to here, we've got to come up with a plan. And that plan then is to go 1, 2, 1. And then we can go maybe 1, 2, 1. And then we can go maybe 1, 2, 1. So we've effectively moved our chess piece sideways by 1 square, but we've had to do it in more than one step. Another way we could do that just looks a little bit nicer is 1, 2, 1, and then 1, 2, 1, and 1, 2, 1. So let's bring the car back in. What we need to be aware of with the car is that any time we go around a corner, not only are we moving the front of the car sideways, but we're also changing the angle of it. And that's where we get the problem. We've got to join together 3 moves, just like we did with the knight, to get from this square to this square. We've got to go forwards and to the side. That's changed the angle. So now we've got to go forwards and to the other side to correct that angle, cancel the angle out, like that. And then we've got to go in a straight line like that. So that's why driving a car and reversing into a parking bay is a little bit like playing chess. You've got to plan your maneuver, taking into account the limitations of your chess piece, in this case your car, so that you can join more than one move together to achieve what you're trying to do. Well, that's all for now, and we'll see you on another video very soon.